both Conservative seats where the turnout fell, in one case 24%, in another case by 17%. We suspect that the turnout here is in the low 30s, and therefore the turnout here has fallen by around about 25%. So, if you like, it matches the picture of this Parliament of falling turnouts at by-elections.
Falling turnouts, voter boredom, and also no seat actually changing hands between parties in a by-election.
That's right. We've yet to see a seat change hands, and of course, in terms of low turnout, it will be interesting which of the parties has managed to get its vote out.
OK, well, let's move on and see next what we're analysing here. This is the swings against the Tories, so this really is what we need to look at tonight. Enfield Southgate,
well,
that was when Michael Portillo lost.
For many people, that was the defining moment of the 1997 general election, when the Southgate result came in. Huge swing in general election terms of 17%. In this seat, though, the swing against the Conservatives was 13%.
That was when Alan Clark.
That was Alan Clark safely defended the seat, and overall, of course, the national picture was 10% against the Tories.
So, given that, what should we be looking at this evening?
Well, we need to be looking at what Portillo's vote share is compared with the general election. It's important that his vote share needs to be stable around what Clark had, if not improve on that position. And of course, it's also interesting to see which party finishes in second place. This should be a Conservative Labour seat, but of course the Liberal Democrats are saying that they're chasing Labour hard into second place.
Well, I've heard conflicting stories tonight. In one ward in Earl's Court, the Conservatives believe that the Liberal Democrat voters collapsed and gone to Labour. But on the other hand, from what we've seen going on behind us, it seems that perhaps some of the other fringe parties have picked up a few protest votes, particularly the pro-European Conservatives.
Well, particularly when you have 18 candidates, you have an awful lot of fringe candidates to choose from. And in a climate where people are perhaps disillusioned with politics, and particularly the main political parties, it might well be that the fringe candidates do particularly well here tonight.
All right. And what about finally, let's just look at the political context. We are, of course, in mid-term when in the past governing parties have not tended to perform so well. So how does the situation now compare with the Major and Thatcher years?
Well, it's quite astonishing, really. If you look at Blair's if you like, record since the general election, this is really where Labour should now be in the so-called mid-term blues. But Blair's PM rating, in terms of satisfaction rating, is plus 16. In other words, more people are more satisfied with Blair than dissatisfied. But compare that with Major's rating at the same time in his Parliament, down a massive amount, and even Thatcher there, very unpopular. But look, against Blair, you see the Leader of the Opposition minus 28. So in effect, Blair doesn't have a real opposition figure. And of course, this is why there's so much interest in the outcome of this by-election here tonight in terms of Michael Portillo returning to the House of Commons. So in the mid-term, Blair shouldn't have these poll ratings, and yet he has. And many people will be saying the Leader of the Opposition just isn't up to the job in terms of chasing and harrying Blair at this stage of the Parliament.
OK, well, I guess the opposition parties will be saying that. Michael, thank you very much indeed for the time being. Let's now turn to some of the campaigners here, the party managers here in Kensington and Chelsea. And joining me are John Hayes for the Conservatives, Simon Hughes for the Liberal Democrats, and Jim Fitzpatrick for Labour. No doubt you've got the seat then.
Well, I hope so. We don't make predictions. It's very unwise to do that in counts. But I would hope that we will win the seat and win it well. Michael's run a very positive campaign, a common sense campaign, in contrast with Labour, who've run a dirty, negative, spiteful campaign.
All right, we'll come on to that in a moment. What's your guess on second place?
I think Labour will hold second place. Some Liberals have obviously voted Labour. There's always that problem. When you've got a lot of candidates in an election, it's very hard because people have a lot of choices to pick from, as you said earlier. But I would have thought Labour are bound to come second, and the Liberals probably a fairly poor third.
Well, Jim Fitzpatrick has been nasty and spiteful and dirty in this campaign.
Well, we don't accept that for a second, Adam. What we've done is try and highlight Michael Portillo's record when he was a Cabinet Minister, but we've also demonstrated the positive aspects of the government's record and the excellent candidate that we had in the field. I think the big story tonight is that this is the 11th safest Tory seat in the country.
And they're going to win it, so...
Well, they're going to win it, but as the Professor was saying, mid-term blues, it should be striking, and we're 16 points further ahead than we were when they had the general election.
But on the other hand, I mean, you haven't had a bad last week with the Archer story, the Ashcroft story, all those problems. Surely you ought to be doing better.
Well, we didn't create those stories. The Conservatives inflicted that pain on themselves, and And so it'll be interesting to see what the Tory vote does tonight, because I would have thought a big vote for Michael Portillo. There's also almost a message being sent: get him in to take over the helm as quickly as possible.
All right, so Simon Hughes, are you dead in the water, do you think?
No, I'm certainly not dead on the water. This is the most stable seat and the most stable borough, certainly in London politics, probably in English politics. I think no council seat has ever changed hands here for 30 years. So if the Tories didn't win, it would be an extraordinary and amazing political
But you're
event.
not claiming even second place.
Well, the expectation would be, if there's a low turnout, which we understand there is, and Michael was making it clear we're probably at about 25 or 30% turnout, then it's very difficult for somebody to suddenly overtake. We're probably in the same order as before. We will have held probably our share of the vote, more or less. We've had between 10 and 20% of the vote over the last 20 years. No seat has changed hands in this Parliament, as Michael said. It probably is notable for its low turnout, notable for being no fundamental change, and notable, sadly, for reflecting the disaffection of London voters with London politics.
Do you think the really significant outcome, then, do you agree with Jim Fitzpatrick, will be the return of Michael Portillo and therefore the destabilisation of the Tory party?
This seat and this borough have returned characters, and if they return Michael Portillo, they will be returning a significant character. And as Jim rightly said, the trouble will not be for us, the other parties, it'll be for the Tory party, who will suddenly wonder what to do with somebody who many people think ought to be the leader.
Hang on a moment, Simon, because
Well,
Michael's run a campaign which has been based around the same things that William Hague's been articulating over the last few months.
He's even harder on Europe than William Hague is.
Michael's run a campaign based around the common sense revolution, and he's actually said there's not a cigarette paper between him and William Hague. Now, that's not the issue.
Yeah, but people are...
There's a cigarette paper on Europe. Come on.
The issue is that the Labour Party, the governing party of Britain, are putting out this sort of propaganda. Now, this is the dirtiest...
Stop Portillo, that's perfectly reasonable thing to say, isn't it?
You don't put that sort of propaganda out and say nothing about your own candidate. There are more pictures of Michael Portillo in the Labour list than there are of their own candidates. This is totally negative propaganda.
The same leaflet will list the positive
negative propaganda.
Candidate on the reverse side.
I don't see saying Stop Portillo is dirty tactics.
Perhaps you prefer this. This is a Labour Party leaflet. That is the Labour Party, the governing party of Britain. Nothing to say about their record, nothing to say about their policies, and a little bit of something about Robert Atkinson.
Well, that is something about their policies.
1, 2, 3, 4,
well, all right.
5 pictures of Portillo and one of them.
Surely the candidature of Michael Portillo is an issue. He was a cabinet minister. His political track record, we are entitled to question, and that's what the leaflet is.
But this is personal, isn't it? Extreme, divisive, arrogant and heartless.
Well, we're quite clearly saying that Michael
Portillo... This is not about policies, this is slagging off Portillo.
Well, Michael Portillo's record when he was a cabinet minister was support of VAT and fuel, which we thought was heartless because of the pain it would have inflicted on pensioners. We believe his opposition to leasehold reform, which is one of the big issues, from our point of view, wasn't a sensible policy. So his position in Europe, we regard as extreme, and we regard that he will be at the head of the Eurosceptic wing of the Conservative Party of Europe, which is an extreme position.
It's the Labour Party who ditched leasehold reform in the Queen's speech. They ditched leaseholders. The point is that you've run a negative, nasty, spiteful, bitter campaign instead of putting your policies forward in an honest and open way.
We have
Democracy works best.
We have balanced up the record of Michael Portillo in power with Robert Atkinson's attributes as our candidate.
Labour dirty tricks, Tory common sense.
First, you, Mr Fitzpatrick, is given that the Labour Party are already saying that this is the next leader of the Tory Party, the leader of the Tory Party of waiting. Why didn't you fight him harder? Why didn't Tony Blair bother to come to this constituency as he did in other constituencies?
Oh, we've had 7 cabinet ministers, we've had 15 ministers, we've had dozens of MPs. We believe we've fought a very strong campaign, but I think we've had the Tories on the back foot, we've had them on a defensive. They've put as much effort into this by-election campaign as any other, and this is the 11th safest seat in the country. There isn't a safe Tory seat in the UK any longer.
What about the Portillo problem? Because if he is back there tomorrow morning, as we all expect, a lot of people are going to be looking at him as the alternative to William Hague.
Michael Portillo is applying for one job, and that's to be a good representative of Kensington and Chelsea. William Hague will use all the talents at his disposal. He's a strong leader, he's a well-respected leader, he's a well-established leader. There's no contest
so
in that
Portillo's
respect.
not a threat?
Portillo's not a threat. Portillo has made absolutely clear he will back Hague. And as far as fighting by-elections is concerned, we will fight every by-election while this wicked government's in office.
Thank you all very much indeed. We'll be coming back to you later on. Well, that is the situation here. They're still counting. We haven't had a correction on the expectation of a declaration round about 1:30. I don't certainly think it'll be before then. Back to you, Lou, at Sky Centre.
Thanks, Adam. And that result is due in the next 90 minutes. We'll bring it to you live.